Well, guys, it's Valentine's looming just around the corner next week, which inevitably makes me think of Tom. Because I remember now a few years ago when I first embarked upon the ridiculous adventure of going on 52 first dates in order to improve my dating skills, and I was holed up with Mr. Torero in a resort in the south of Poland. And I remember it was Valentine's Day that we were getting a train back to Warsaw. I wrote about it in my book, 52 First Dates, Volume 1, Ka-ching. Tom would, I think, smile a wry smile if he heard me plugging my books in such politically incorrect fashion. But we sat on the train. He'd been badgering me for some time on that trip, and I was, being an Olympic procrastinator about whether to do this. I'd already, written Too Late May and learnt a whole bunch about approaching, but of course it was a bit like, hang on, I now can approach, but, what about actually really getting the dates down? And that was like, getting to the top of a mountain and discovering it's a mini mountain and there's another mountain, Everest-sized mountain beyond that mountain, Anyway, it was Valentine's Day. We were walking around Kraków shopping centre, and you said, Valentine's Day, perfect for approaching. And he'd done a Valentine's Day vlog in the mountains, actually. It was quite amusing, sort of like j'accuse the Valentinos of the world and the commercialised nonsense that we periodically have to deal with once a year. But as was his wont, Tom was always a practical, positive person who spanned things around into gold. And he was like, we walked around the shopping centre and he said, it's a great day to approach girls because you can know that the ones who are out are probably single. Anyway, it was on the train on the way up. I did a podcast with him, and on that podcast I announced my 52 First Dates project. It's been really difficult, I have to be honest. When someone's that close, it was a mentor, he was a day game coach, and then he became a friend. And it brings it into the grieving process. It takes it into a whole kind of different arena, really. And, part of me wants to just get up, and there's, guys are wanting to organise a get-together, probably in London in March or springtime. And part of me wants to, go out there and help organise a great tribute and so on and so forth. But part of me feels as if, as much as the sort of the ambitious, intellectual character Mr. Forrest wants to do that, there's also this other kind of emotional, really, waters run deep part of me, which is like, I can't process it properly yet. It's like the manner of Tom's death, as well as the fact of it, is, I don't know, I feel a little bit, disorientated. I want to give you something of an upbeat and fun and fizzy little vlog today about why it is that I love Russian women. So what I would like to tell you is just about a little bit of an anecdote that I've had with a girl on Tinder just recently, a Russian girl who's been staying in Warsaw. And then actually tell you a longer, really rather triumphant story of a couple of years ago, before wrapping up with some reflections. So here is a text. This was a girl whom I had decided I was going to behave in a traditional way and play to the Russian cultural etiquette, if you like. I'd been speaking to a buddy in Russia or Belarus, who told me about a load of girls. In fact, the majority expects a man to send a taxi round to pick them up and deliver them to the date location. So I thought I would do this. when I got to the hotel where she was staying, I actually ended up getting in the taxi myself and arriving at reception, ready and waiting at the appointed hour, only to get her phone. It's quite interesting, she phoned, she didn't message much. And she said, "Oh, I've just got out of bed. I've just woken up. It's going to take me half an hour, 40 minutes to get ready." And I was like, now this, I should explain, is the photos, kind of young, blonde, pouty, big lips, big blue eyes. I could tell that there was a danger of this going into princess territory, and in fact my buddies had been teasing me the week before when I showed them the photographs. They'd looked and rolled their eyes and laughed out loud and said, I thought you're looking for a relationship, Alex." I'd agreed basically to sit like a numpty in a reception area waiting for her for at least 40 minutes, because it wouldn't have been 40 minutes, it would have been an hour by the time she'd got herself ready, properly ready, and had a shower. And I sat there looking at the receptionist and twiddling my phone and said, "Am I really going to sit here for 40 minutes?" And I was like, you know what, no. This is a challenge, this is a frame test, and I'm going to treat it like a frame test. So I wrote this message, and I did not answer the phone when she tried to ring me, and then she texted me, and then she tried to ring me. I went round the corner, had a vodka and a cigarette, turned off my phone completely and went back home and left it. Now, it's interesting, isn't it? Because inside you think, oh, you've burnt it, you've crashed the car. Note that I carefully worded the text so it wasn't reactive. It was just setting my boundaries. It's a very important word, busy. It can be used in a lot of contexts where a girl is testing your frame. And lo and behold, a week later, we were on a date, and I had sent a taxi round. She was totally punctual. In fact, she phoned in the afternoon to apologise she might be 5 minutes late. And we met, and we had a really good date. Unfortunately, she was only in town for a couple of days, so she flies out, and we were unable to take it any further. And it turned out on the date, she dances in the evenings from 10 o'clock. Now, the thing about this date was it was hard work. She didn't like the first venue. She said, "I don't like being around students," whatever that meant. She was obviously quite nervous, but in a way she was like being a bit defiant, you might say. I suggested a second venue for some food. She was hungry. As we walked to the second venue, she was constantly saying, "How far is it? How far is it?" It's cold, and I said, "Not far." Now, a lot of guys at this point would be like, "Well, what are you doing with such a princess?" Well, as I say, let's be honest, I found her physically very attractive. And also, as I've said, if you can learn to master, or at least to keep your equilibrium on a date with a Russian bird who's, firing all sorts of challenges and frame tests at you, then if you can do that, my friend, if you can master that, my friend, you're going to find it so much easier and more effortless when you do meet a girl who the universe provides for you, whom you really do genuinely like as a person, as a person. But it was quite beautiful, because I was feeling all this angry, reactive objections about being pissed around. But when we got to the venue and she relaxed, don't forget, just give a little bit of rope. I can hear Tom saying, kind of lose the battle to win the war. Don't be stubbornly reactive, almost sort of misogynistic almost. She's a human being. She's nervous. It turned out she got other guys who were chasing her that night to meet her on a date. She'd chosen, it was interesting, she said I asked her why she'd come out on a date with me when she got these other options. And she didn't really know why. It was quite interesting, although she did mention the cancelled first date, which made me realise that actually, yeah, I think it was the way that I acted on that first date that attracted her and made her want to come out on the second. And by the end of the day, it was fun, it was fizzy. I'd gone around to her side of the table so I could sit next to her and be physically playful. And we were in a restaurant, so that was about the limit of it. I got her to wear my glasses. I said, I think you should work on a hot secretary look. And we took some photographs of her, seeding future dates thereby, note, her doing this, and looking blonde and reasonably attractive, and then I kept the date relatively short because I knew by then she was working that evening, and as we parted company, she was kind of saying, where do we go next? Not that we could go anywhere next, but I felt that it was best to part company at that point, and I put my arm around her waist and let my hand wander. Which she was completely cool, and by that point it was just so splendid to defrost the Russian princess, and I went away feeling relieved that I'd navigated the date well, and it hadn't become clunky at first, but I'd ironed it out and we'd started to relax. That I'd also spiked during the course of the date, verbally and physically. And that, to be honest with you, I'm not sure that I'm so super attracted to her that I'd want to see her again in a way. But I've kept my options open, and indeed, afterwards, I did text. I texted the next day, and then the next week I pinged her the photos, and again took the frame by telling her to go and show it to a friend, because she was like, oh, I don't look very attractive with glasses, and she really did. It definitely worked. I think I'll probably leave the Russian date from 52 First Dates that I did a couple of years ago now to another episode, or read the book 52 First Dates. But it's such it was a great story. It was another very positive reference point for me at the end of the 52 First Dates project, where I was presented with all sorts of frame tests by this Russian girl. She really pulled out all the stops, pushed me out of her bed and out of her bedroom on the first night, and on the second night actually started to pack up her things in order to leave and go and stay with a friend, because I decided to camp myself in her hotel bedroom and I was refusing to leave. Anyway, a story for another day perhaps. I do love Russian, Ukrainian, Belarusian girls because of the way that they are happy to be women. They're happy about the polarity. Now look, this is the problem. People think that if a woman is polarizing herself and being super feminine in a dating situation, that means that she's being, a walkover. She's not, that she's sort of somehow compromising her sex by doing that in a dating scenario, and that's simply not true. When you're dealing with the birds and the bees, the dance is different, the rules are different, my friend. It's not. If you are, a Russian teacher teaching, let's say she was a teacher and I'd book lessons with her, then I'd expect her to be firm with me where I wasn't getting the language right. That's a whole different professional working dynamic, yeah. And there might be another dynamic with family or with friends. I don't see why that's such a difficult point for people to understand in the West. You know, why do you apply the same brush to every area of life when it comes to being a woman? Can't you as a woman acknowledge your femininity and celebrate the polarity when it's dating, a romantic dimension? Why do you have to, you know, be strong and independent all the way through? And I find this is true, growing increasingly true actually of Polish women. They're becoming, you know, westernized. It's happening quite quickly. So you can really tell the difference between a Russian and a Pole, or a Belarusian or a Ukrainian and a Pole, when you are going about your day-to-day in Warsaw. So anyway, I mean, oh, bless them. I do love Russian women, because just the final thing to say is, what it did, it was like it threw down a gauntlet, this whole dating sequence with this Belarusian last week. She doesn't know she's doing it. It's all very subconscious, isn't it? But in effect, she's throwing down a gauntlet and saying, can you rise to the challenge, my friend? And in rising to the challenge, and yes, I was gentlemanly, and yes, I did pick up the bill at the restaurant. And that's perhaps partly because I'm a mature, more older dude, and it just feels so much more congruent with my nature. But I wasn't a courtier. I did spike and made it sexual at various stages of the day, which is obviously super important. But I don't think you should feel that you can't act in some ways, and you can't open a door for a woman. You can't. I mean, I do make a point of making sure I put her coat on at the end of the day. It makes a difference. It distinguishes you, it polarizes you from all the other guys who were on her phone, who were chasing her because of her Tinder photos, basically. And she's got decisions to make. You know, girls are bad enough at making decisions at the best of times. What's interesting, though, just, you know, by way of a caveat, note that one of the reasons that I did send that message of the cancelled first date and didn't wait 40 minutes odd or tell her to come somewhere else, or bugger off myself and then tell her to come to my apartment or to a bar near my apartment, was because she'd said on the phone that I'm hungry. Where are we going? Can I get dinner? And that for me was a bit like, well, hang on, fine, I am going to behave like a gentleman, but I'm not your sugar daddy who's going to be buying you expensive dinners at the Bristol Hotel around the corner. It's a dance, and the steps can be a little bit tricky, but if you practice and you, as I say, attenuate, modify, be emotionally intelligent about the person that the girl is in front of you, you can really rise to the challenge and feel like a man, feel a bit like the John Wayne. You know, all the great stuff that comes with that when you're honouring the polarity. You know, I told her off a bunch of times on the day when she was relaxed and when she was at her ease and when it was a little bit more flirtatious. It was interesting. I even, at one point, she got on her phone during the day. It was late on in the day, but even so, and which is a bit rude, but she did say, oh, do you mind? I just need to take this, do you mind? I said, okay. And I went and chatted to the barmaid. And when I came back, she'd finished from her phone. I'd noticed that she was looking over. And when I sat down, she said, oh, are you flirting with the barmaid? I felt like that she's flirting with my man, is how she put it. Dig your balls out of the bottom drawer where they're probably frozen into ice cubes after a particularly difficult winter period. Strap them on, defrost them first, and then, you know, go out there, hit the streets, or if you're on Tinder, just get some dates. Strap those balls on, you bastards.